Hello and welcome to another vlog as we continue through our 40 chapters of the growth series. In today's vlog, we're going to be focusing on chapter 6 of the book of Daniel, which shares the narrative of Daniel being in the lion's den. Now, for some of this may be a story that we're really familiar with, and it reminds us of our Sunday school days or our school assembly days, whilst for others, it may not be one you're as familiar with. But either way, it's a chapter that's worth reading and rereading, as it's a chapter that demonstrates what it means to have integrity and to have integrity for God, seen specifically through the actions of Daniel. But as we don't have time to read this whole chapter now, a whistle stop of the chapter 6 of Daniel may go something a little like this. Now, Daniel had become an administrator of the king under the rule of Darius, King Darius. The other administrators did not like Daniel and tried to find a charge to bring against him. But as they concluded in verse 5 of chapter 6, we will never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with the law of his God. Therefore, the administrators decided to introduce a rule that the only individual who could be prayed to is the king, knowing that Daniel was a godly man. So anyone who went against this and prayed to anyone who wasn't the king would be thrown in the lion's den. So in verse 11, it says that Daniel responded by doing this. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the window opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he'd done before. He was discovered, and despite the best efforts of the king, he was sent to the lion's den. However, upon entering the lion's den, God closed the lion's mouth, and Daniel was not eaten. And because of this event, King Darius changed the decree and instead declared that the God of Daniel was and is the true God. When we read through this chapter, we see that Daniel is a man of integrity. But what does it mean to have integrity? Well, I love looking at the etymology of words. And when we look at the etymology of integrity, we learn that it has its derivations from the Latin integritas, which comes from integer, which means to be intact, to be whole. Therefore, to have integrity, to live life with integrity, is to be whole. It's to not have different sides. It's to be the same person everywhere and whoever you speak to. So therefore, to live life for God with integrity is to live a life as God wishes, in all circumstances, in all situations, and when with all people. It's to live each day, no matter what we face, in the way that God wishes us to. And that's exactly what Daniel does. Even in the face of certain death, he proceeds and acts in a way of integrity, living life for God. Now, the book we're following along for this series gives 2 examples of how we can do this. The first states that in life, we can either be thermostats or thermometers. Now, bear with me because hopefully it will make sense. The book says when we're faced with a situation, whatever that may be, most people become a thermometer. They react to what's happening and sometimes overreact. In the same way, when you put a thermometer into something, it instantly reads the temperature. There's that instant reaction. However, the reflection suggests that when we live our lives with integrity, we become more like thermostats. That when life heats up, we should react in a way that keeps things cool and chooses intentional actions. In the same way that a thermostat reads the temperature of the room and then gauges the next course of action, either cooling or heating, rather than instantly reacting and potentially overreacting. The book says integrity asks the question, how can I act, not react, in a way that will honour God in my current crisis? And that's what we see Daniel doing. On hearing this decree, he doesn't start shouting and ranting, and nor does he hide away. Instead, he intentionally reacts, he intentionally acts. He continues to do what he's always done. He went to his room and he prayed as he always did. I wonder if we react in more of a thermometer or thermostat way. The second example that's given is that there are two types of people when faced with life. There are the people who face life as drifters and the people who face life as swimmers. Now, the drifters allow the circumstances, the situation, the environment, the people around them to guide them. Whereas to contrasters, the swimmers, they swim. It's in the name. They control the direction they are going, even if sometimes that means swimming against the tide. But the swimmers can say that they live life with integrity because they choose to remain true to the course they've chosen. They choose to remain true to God no matter what they face. I wonder if you are a drifter or a swimmer. Perhaps you could spend some time asking God today, what are the areas in my life where I need to show more integrity to you, Lord? Where are the areas where I need to be more of a thermostat and less of a thermometer? Where are the areas where I need to swim and not drift? Perhaps you need to ask God for the strength to do it. I will leave you with that thought and just end by saying that I hope you have a lovely day, whatever you are doing.